Hi again, it's Matt, Glaucoma Pirates. This is my second video. Hopefully you've watched my introduction video and what I'm here for and what it's all about, and you've got to know me a little bit. But it's time now to start talking about glaucoma, etc. But to try and give you everything in chronological order, I've decided that this first video I'm going to discuss migraine. I know it's you think that it's not connected, but in my case I believe it was. So in this second video I'm going to talk to you about pre-glaucoma diagnosis and me getting glaucoma. It is relevant, trust me, but it's not directly glaucoma discussion, but because this happened before the glaucoma, I figured it probably should be the first thing I talk to you about and just make you aware of. This is the story goes back to, I'm going to tell you a story, and it goes back to when I was 12 years old, and I was a chubby kid at school, tall and chubby, so I was automatically selected for the rugby team, even though I didn't like it. And I was playing rugby for the school, second row, and scrum collapse resulted in me being on the floor with my head and the scrum on top of my head, which resulted in me losing consciousness for probably only a minute or two. And in those days, early 80s, there was no protocol for head injuries. It was very much a case of PE teacher takes you off, subs you, gives you a bottle of water and says, "You all right?" Yeah, I'm all right, you know, a bit dazed and confused. And when my parents picked me up from the rugby match, the PE teacher just says, "Oh, he's had a bit of a knock on the head, just keep your eye on him," sort of thing. And that was it really, apart from the fact that my parents took me to the GP because I was feeling a bit groggy, and the GP just said, "Oh, just keep an eye on him, watch him overnight, don't let him go to sleep." That was the way they treated head injuries in those days. Don't let him go to sleep for 24 hours, and if anything changes, you know, let us know. I'll take him to the hospital. So I remember it well. I was 12 years old, and I had school the next day, but didn't have to go because I was up all night sitting there with my mum trying to keep me awake by giving me chocolate and and drinks and trying to keep me something from going to sleep. But we got through that, and I was fine. No long lasting effects other than a bit of a headache for a couple of days. Anyway, the reason that's relevant is because about 2 weeks after that, when I was 12 years old, I suffered my first migraine of my life, which the type I have are called aura migraines. So you see a light like you've been staring at the sun, just from nowhere. It just comes on, and in my instance, the light grows until it pretty much covers your whole vision, and that takes about half an hour normally for me, and then you start to feel nauseous and you have a headache, and sometimes it's a really bad headache, and sometimes it's not too bad a headache. But with migraines that I've always had, fortunately they only last a day. Once you've had a good night's sleep and taken some paracetamol, you wake up the next day and you feel groggy. You feel like you've got a hangover. Although I wouldn't have had a hangover at the age of 12, but I've lived and learned, and now I know that that's what it feels like. But other than that, had migraines since then all my life. I've had periods in my life where I've been getting them, you know, every couple of weeks, and then I've had periods in my life where I haven't had one for a year. So very intermittent. But since that particular injury, I've had migraines. So moving forward now to the year 2000 December. So this is about 4 months before my initial sort of diagnosis with glaucoma. I was travelling to work during work as a sales rep on the motorway, and it turned out to be a type of migraine, but what I actually thought it was a stroke. I'm driving 1 minute, the next second, just like that, I felt like I was in a bubble, like I wasn't really there, like I was, you know, out of body experience. I felt really dizzy, really strange, really pale. I went really pale, really cold. managed to pull over on the hard shoulder, tried to get out of the car, but was just falling to my left. Terrified the life out of me, thought I had a stroke. Was rushed to hospital again. The hospital did all the stroke protocol that they do, and after about 4 or 5 hours, the symptoms all sort of faded, and after brain scans and everything else, it was I was diagnosed with it was a different type of migraine, but it was a migraine. Nothing to worry about. There was no stroke, no bleeding in the brain, or anything else. I had 3 of those episodes, very similar, with stroke-like symptoms within a 2 or 3 month period. 2 of them whilst driving, so very scary. The other one, I was just in an office at work when it happened. But each time I was sent to the hospital, each time did do all the tests, and each time they said, yeah, it's a type of migraine. I did see a neurologist as a result of this going on, and had more brain scans and stuff, and it was decided that that's what it is, the type of migraine. You know, you may get more, you may not get another one for 10 years. It's just like it's a type of migraine. So that was very unsettling and not a pleasant experience. But as a side effect as a coincidental finding on the brain scans, the neurologist said, "Oh, have you had a head injury in the past?" And I was like, "No." This was before I put 1 and 2 together and got the rugby incident. And he says, "You never had a sort of major head injury?" And I'm like, "No." "Never fractured your skull or had a brain bleed before?" I said, "No." But I thought, why is he asking me these questions? It turned out there is some, I think they call it white matter or something on the left-hand side of my brain, which is not a problem. It's not going to cause any problems. It's not an issue. But it's just like he said, it's a sign that you've had some form of head trauma in the past. Like I say, either a fractured skull or a small brain bleed or something like that. But I hadn't. But then he said, "Have you ever lost consciousness?" And the only time I'd ever lost consciousness was at that rugby incident when I was 12. So we suspect, at least myself and my wife and sort of the doctors, although they can't say categorically, it's suspected that coincidentally that I started getting migraines 2 weeks after the rugby injury, and then these other migraines came on, that it's all due to impact on the left-hand side of my head when I was a lot younger. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you about that because although it's not glaucoma, I believe it's relevant, mainly because it was in the April after those 3 attacks of the stroke-like migraines that I went for my regular eye check and was diagnosed with glaucoma. So I'm going to leave it there for this one. I'll title this section Migraines, stroke glaucoma, and in the next video I'll talk you through my diagnosis and when it all kicked off and when my journey with glaucoma began. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been useful to somebody out there that maybe has a link between the glaucoma and migraines too, just to put your mind at rest. I believe there's a link, and definitely the more research you do and the more you look into things, you do find a lot of people who happen to have glaucoma happen to have migraine as well. So thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.